Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live. And hopefully, the audio is a little bit better this week. Um, I noticed that I had some stuff like set wrong in my audio equipment, so I've made some changes, and hopefully, I'm not as tinny and echoey as I was. Um, that being said, I'm also using headphones to monitor, which usually I don't do because you get kind of this weird echoey thing. That's why I have one ear uncovered right now, but this is letting me better monitor what I'm hearing. Anyhow, that aside, this week we have a lot to cover, and I'm coming to you on kind of a special night. Usually we're every Tuesday at 5. I had an appointment come up yesterday, so I wasn't able to do Bob's Live yesterday. But we do have something important that we need to do, and that is a drawing. So I've got in this Bob's Better Blooms pot right here, I have all of the entries for our Mother's Day drawing online. So here in a second, we're going to do the drawing for that. But up first, I thought we would take a quick look back at Mother's Day. So, Mother's Day weekend, was this past weekend. It's our biggest sale of the year. So, I went on a road trip and stopped at every single one of our market locations on Saturday. So, I spent some time shooting video and taking photos, and then also just meeting with you guys. So got recognized more times than I'd like to admit. But it was great to hear people's gardening questions kind of firsthand. Usually I'm just reading them right here in comments on the screen, or through emails, or through the chat system on our website. It was awesome just to be able to talk face to face to people. So, I want to start doing that more too. We originally started Bob's Live way back before COVID, but during COVID it sort of became our main way of interacting. And now that we're kind of past that, it would be great for me especially to get out and start interacting more. So look for more like workshops and events. I've got some stuff in the works, some ideas kind of brewing, and you can look for that coming up this summer. Let's head out to the greenhouse, to our store locations, and check out what we had going on Saturday. So as I said, I visited every one of our stores, and I just kind of threw together a little bit of footage from each location, just to kind of give you an idea what we had going on over the weekend. Hi, John Morgan here. It's Mother's Day weekend. Join me as I visit every market location to see what's happening. And this evening, I am finishing up my tour of Bob's locations here at our Belpre, Ohio market. All right, so that was, let me find the right slide here. That was a quick look at Mother's Day. And right now, we have our Mother's Day giveaway to do, which in the stores over the weekend, we were doing a giveaway every hour. They did a hanging basket. And then at the end of the day, they did a drawing for a $100 gift card. And we're going to be doing the same thing. So here in a second, I've got all of the entries right here. And we're going to be doing a giveaway for a $100 gift card. But also, I have something a little special for our online viewers. And that is one of our new Bob's Market garden journals. So not only are you going to get a $100 gift card, you're going to get a Bob's Market garden journal to go along with it. And in this garden journal, it's great. It has, on the front page, it has a little bit about the history of Bob's Market and a quote from Bob's that kind of is our unofficial company motto, and that is pay attention to the details. Like, if you've ever come on a tour here, everything comes down to the fine details. Like, when we're sowing seedlings, they take the trays of seedlings and like weigh them every hour to make sure they're getting the right amount of water. But yeah, in our garden journals, every page has like a little page that you can fill out. It has like the plant name, the botanical name, where you purchased it, how much you paid for it, what type of plant it is, the date. So if you started it from seed or you planted it, it has like date germinated, date planted, location, planting instructions. So all the stuff that's on the tag, you can kind of copy down here. And then it has where you can keep notes on it. And then on the back side, it has where you can keep notes about that plant. And then also it has a section down at the bottom that's just completely blank, where you can like tape in a photo, or you can do a drawing of it if you're kind of artistic. But yeah, that is our new garden journals, and it has a bunch of pages in here. So you could use one of these for years. Of course, I've covered garden journaling before. I don't have it laying here, but I keep a daily journal, and it kind of has everything. So work stuff, garden stuff. It's kind of my guidebook for an entire year. I jokingly call it my brain, because everything that's important goes in there, and that way I don't have to remember it up here. A few weeks ago, was troubleshooting a problem out in the greenhouse, and I was like, oh, I worked on that in 2023. So I was able to go pull open that journal and look at the diagrams that I made back then. So yeah, just everything goes into my journal. But we've got the garden journal and then $100 gift card. I should have just grabbed a blank one to hold up on the screen. They're green though, and I'm against a green screen, so it would have been invisible. So without further ado, let's do the drawing. So I have all of the entries from the website right here. And let me give it a good shake. I'm always afraid I'm going to lose some if I do that. And I'm reading a comment right now. It says, we camp nearby and I can't wait to go to Bob's when we go to Belpre. Amazing elephant war plants. I think it's elephant ear plants. So autocorrect got you the comments, but elephant war plant sounds kind of awesome. Like, I'm thinking like war elephants. Giant. We do have a giant elephant ear plant up at Belpre. It could be an elephant war plant. Okay, so yeah, there we go. I've got one right here in my hand. We have our winner. And I haven't looked at it yet. So right there is our winner. And let me... Okay, so our winner is Jenna Keener. So I'll set this one aside. And she is the winner of our $100 gift card and gardening journal. So I'll contact her after the show. And then we'll get everything in the mail to her probably tomorrow. So that is our Mother's Day drawing. So congratulations, Jennifer. Up next, I thought we'd take a quick look at the weather because looking out the window right here, it is kind of concerning. So the sky is black right in front of the office here. But it looks like the storm is passing kind of to the west of us. So right now it's 76. Says it feels like 84 because it is stinking humid outside. And tomorrow I know it's going to be even warmer, but there's less of a chance of storms tomorrow. So I know a lot of us are trying to figure out like when to mow grass. I think tomorrow is probably going to be the best time to get out and mow some grass. Looking at the local radar though, so right here's Mason. Yeah, so there's some lightning detected right nearby here, and the storm is kind of moving kind of straight north. So yeah, it is going to miss us here in Mason. But if you live kind of in Athens, it looks like you're going to get hit by a pretty good storm coming up. Looking at the extended forecast, again tomorrow, high in the mid 80s. Less of a chance of rain tomorrow. It's going to be mostly sunny. Then the chance of storms kind of return on Friday and Saturday. But we are looking at still warm temperatures up in the 80s. And then if we jump ahead in toward the end of next weekend, we're going to drop down Sunday, kind of back down to lower to mid 70s. And then a little bit cooler on Monday and Tuesday. And then we start climbing back up again sort of midweek, which is kind of the pattern we've been in. We've been having like milder weekends in early week, and then it gets warmer toward the end of the week. But yeah, it's been kind of an interesting weather pattern. Something though that I'm going to be talking about in our podcast this weekend. Oh, let me find the mouse. Here we go. Something I'm going to be talking about on our podcast, the Keep Growing podcast, and I'm also going to be talking about on our blog, is cicadas. So we have a brood of 17-year locusts. The brood number, I can't remember it right now at the moment, but we do have 17-year locusts in the area this year, and it's kind of Point Pleasant and where I live, and kind of this area is sort of the cutoff line, and then south. So if you live kind of up in the Belpre area, kind of north of here, you might see a little bit of locust, but you're not going to be in the thick of it. Down southern part of our area, that's where it's really going to hit. And we're getting up around that time now that I saw reports kind of Wayne County, that area, down the southern part of the state, that the locusts have started to emerge down there. And it's based off soil temperature, so once the soil gets above 60 degrees, that's when they start coming out. So I'm going to be talking about that this week in the blog, because over the next week or so, that's when we're going to see the locusts emerging. And then they're going to be hanging around for the next 4 to 6 weeks-ish. They basically come out of the ground, breed, lay their eggs, and then die. So it's kind of a month or so short-lived here. But yeah, so we do have the locusts to deal with, and I'll be talking about that over the next couple weeks. To kind of close up this week, I thought we would head down to our house, or to my house. Yeah. I did a little planting project. It was actually a couple weeks ago on the Gallipolis in Bloom planting day. I bought some plants and did some planting of my own at my house that day. But a common question that I get asked is if you could reuse potting mix. So like if you have, say, a big container at home, can you reuse the potting mix in that container, or should you replace it every year? So that's a question that I get asked a lot. And the answer is, yeah, you can reuse it. Remember, most of the nutrients that you're giving plants in containers is through fertilizing them. So it's fine to reuse the potting mix, but with some caveats. And I'll get to that in the video, so let's jump right on into it. Hi, John Morgan here, and today we're in a place we haven't been for a while, and that is the front of my house. We've been doing some renovation work, and well, I am not going to pan the camera that way because still a little bit of a construction zone. But anyhow, we recently, within the last year or so, had this patio added in front of our house. And I've had this container for a few years, and I've planted different things in it in that time. And a common question that I get asked is, can you reuse soil in a container? And generally, it kind of depends on the size of the container. If it's a small pot, usually you want to replace all of that soil. But for something this big, you're okay going in and kind of tilling the soil back up. I removed any large roots or anything like that. And then what I like to do is go in and kind of top it off with fresh soil. And that helps get some nutrients back into the soil. But let's face it, at the end of the day, the bulk of the nutrients that whatever's planted in here is going to be receiving is going to be through fertilizer. So for me, I use Jack's Classic. So when I water, I'm fertilizing each time I water. So first of all, I need to kind of break up this existing soil a little bit more. And to do that, I'm going to break out my new toy that I've been using in the garden. And this is a battery operated rototiller. So it does have a handy little speed dial here on it. So I'm going to turn the speed down just a little bit because I don't want to bump into the edge of this pot or this container with these tines, because this is pretty thin metal. But using this, I can easily stir up this top layer of soil. And it is breaking it up really nicely. Work it into the corners here a little bit. Okay, so now that I have this stirred up, I do want to kind of go back and pack it down a little bit, because that really loosened it up. And we're actually pretty good on the soil level in here. I do have some potting mix that I'm going to kind of top it off with. But I think I'm going to do that after I get everything planted. Because I'm going to be making holes, so the soil level is actually going to go up a little bit more, since I'm going to be adding in this soil. And this is what I'm going to be planting in here. This kind of sets in a corner, so I want my taller stuff in the back, shorter stuff toward the front, and I've got alyssum here for this, what will be the front corner. Let's see, yeah, because handle there, this is the back corner, this is the front corner. Got alyssum. Then for kind of the middle layer, I'm going to have hypoestes. And then in the back, that gets the most shade, I'm going to have impatiens. And the front of my house, it faces north. So this area does get a little bit of morning sun and a little bit of like late evening sun. But where this is back in a corner, it's really only going to get morning sun. So this stuff out on the outer are the Beacon series, which are downy mildew resistant. So that's something you can keep in mind if you've had downy mildew issues in the past. Luckily, I never got hit with downy mildew here where I live. But all of our impatiens are downy mildew resistant now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm thinking kind of almost like a line of hypoestes through the middle right here. Kind of right like that. It's going to be kind of geometric, I guess, but it'll grow and fill in and look better as it fills in. I might even kind of snake these a little bit to kind of break it up. And then we'll have our impatiens back here in the back. This one is kind of naturally taller, where I broke up flats to select these. We'll go with the little tall guy there in the back. And then kind of like those three there. And then these alyssum, they'll kind of fill in this front area. They don't really spill that much, but they will kind of grow over the edge a little bit. So we'll kind of go like that. And I think that's going to look pretty good. Okay, so let's get to planting. Alrighty, the easiest way to plant in a 32 count flat like this is just kind of grab the ball and just kind of work it back and forth and down in. And it'll kind of naturally settle into place. So I'm just kind of grabbing it, working it back and forth, and dropping it in. I wore long sleeves today and I kind of feel I'm always kind of fighting them. One little broke leaf there. There we go. And now the final thing that I'm doing is kind of topping this off with some fresh potting mix. I already planted everything kind of deeply, so I'm just sort of filling in any depressions or anything like that. I'm not really packing it down either, because when I water, it's going to kind of self-level. You know, this loose layer on top, it'll kind of float around, find the low spots, and really get everything settled in nicely. Alright, I think that turned out pretty good. Now we just need to give it a good watering to get everything kind of firmly seeded and get it growing. So let me pick this up and we'll put it in its home. The nice thing about this container is it has handles on it, so if we get a late frost, I can always just pick it up and carry it inside. Alright, now we're ready for water, and I've just got my watering can from inside, which doesn't have a little water breaker on the front. So I do have to go kind of slow, and like I said, the soil that I just put on top is kind of floating. And what that's doing is it's kind of self-leveling. And this is one of those tricks that you sort of learn by accident. Now this soil that was in here, it's really dry also. So I'm going to go refill this a few times. Kind of let this soak in, then go fill up my watering can again. Because I've had this setting on the front porch all winter where it's been dry. The nice thing is that it keeps weeds and things from growing in it because there's no water in it. But now I've got to re-wet this huge ball of soil. So that's all that it takes to reuse soil. The only tips that I have is, again, if it's a small pot, I would replace it. Also, another key thing is if there's any signs of disease in the plants that were in there previously, I would replace the entire thing and also sterilize the container just to be safe. And you can do that with a diluted mixture of bleach and water. But this container, I've never had any issues with it, so I felt safe reusing the soil and then adding some fresh soil back in on top. And well, I think this is going to fill out nicely and kind of fill in this weird little corner that I have right here of my house. So the next thing that I'm going to probably do is plant some pots for around the base of this, because this is up on some legs and it looks a little bare down below it. So that might be another project in the future. All right, so that is a quick little planting project. Up next, I'm getting ready to tackle all the flower beds in front of my house. Again, like I said in the video, I'm doing some construction this year, so I'm probably not going to show that. I'll probably show doing the front bed at the very entrance of my house, because I usually cover planting that bed every year, and it kind of gives you an idea of the color mix that I'm going for. Which this year, I've kind of thought about basically like the color mix that's behind me here. Just going wild and having a mixture of all sorts of colors. And not only all sorts of colors, but different types of plants too. In my backyard, I grow a huge wildflower section, which over the weekend I was out working in it and I shot a little bit of video. I've seeded it previously. I went through and reseeded it this last weekend and also planted some of the annuals that I plant in it. So things like zinnias, cosmos, and sunflowers. But I've got a really nice mix of flowers coming up out of my wildflower garden this year. So it's going to look really interesting here, probably by the end of May, start of June. And then it'll just be continuous bloom all the way up, probably until October. Usually I'm out collecting seeds in October. But I'm thinking of kind of replicating that sort of look in my front flower beds this year, just by having a mix of a bunch of different flower varieties and colors. So what I'm going to do is probably get 32 count flats and just go with 4-packs of different stuff. So if I'm planting in the sun, I'm going to get a bunch of random stuff that takes sun. If I'm planting in the shade up against the house, I'm going to get some random stuff that can take the shade. So like impatiens, begonias, coleus, hypoestes, different things like that. So I think it's going to be really interesting and kind of a neat experiment this year. The thing though with going with kind of a random mix is to really make it look random. Trying to plant something and make it look random is tougher than it looks, because our brains kind of go toward creating patterns. So even though you might be trying to create something that looks random, you'll still kind of unintentionally create a pattern. That's kind of hard to explain, but trust me, it does happen. So yeah, that's going to be a fun experiment coming up, and I'll take you along for at least part of it. The part of it I'm not, embarrassed to show, because, yeah, like I said, doing some work on the landscaping in the front, and some of it's not presentable. Also, I try to maintain privacy of where our house is, so I'm not going to be showing the address number, which is in the one bed that I probably will show on video, so I have to do some careful editing there. But yeah, that is all that I have for this week's episode. Again, Jenna Keener was the winner of our online drawing that I just did a second ago. And she won a $100 Bob's Market gift card and a gardening journal. And keep an eye out on our website and also here on Bob's Live, because we're going to be doing other drawings this summer. So, like I said, I've got stuff planned for this summer. So, keep an eye out both here and on our website and over on social media. And then, of course, check out our podcast too, Keep Growing Podcast. I'm working on a new thumbnail, so I kind of did a test thumbnail in the last episode. I didn't really like it. It's always hard to find the right amount of contrast. What happens though is sometimes podcast services, they crop it down to just a rectangle that's the center. So basically you were getting my elbows and then the word "the" on the podcast. So I need to figure out a better way to format the thumbnail. So, but yeah, our podcast, it comes out every Saturday morning. So, if you're watching this on Facebook right now, usually a link goes out on Saturday morning on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, it's available on YouTube Music and also on our YouTube channel. The podcast gets uploaded there, and then it's on all the podcast platforms. So, me personally, I listen to Spotify, and that's actually who we host the podcast through. But then it's also available on Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and then iHeartRadio, and a bunch of other places. So check out the Keep Growing Podcast. And what we cover is basically the gardening week ahead for our region right here in the Ohio Valley. And, well, until next time, keep growing.